You're watching MMA Odds Breaker. I'm Frank Trigg. That is Ryan Bader. He's wearing his nice little Jocko hat. Jocko is your main sponsor, or just one of your 9,700 sponsors?
Yeah, no, I was with Tap for a while, then went with Jocko for this fight, so I just started with them. Try to keep the sponsors, limited and kind of outside the MMA world too. And so we got a good group of people that we work with, and people I believe in and support them, and vice versa.
Now, there's been a lot of guys lately have been getting like NASCAR sponsorships and all this other crazy crap coming out there that's really outside. What's the big sponsor that you would like to have that you could see coming into the sport that's not in the sport yet?
All of the huge brands, the Nikes, the Adidas, and all that kind of stuff. We actually came and we got a Cytosport sponsorship with Monster Milk. They're coming out with a new brand, little beefed up muscle milk, basically, and so got sponsored by them, Weidman and I. So that was kind of a big one coming in the game, and we look for those type of sponsorships and kind of those mainstream ones.
The one thing that hasn't come across yet that I'm really upset that they haven't, because of how many wrestlers are dominating the sport still, is ASICs. I don't understand why they're not coming in. Now, I talked to one of the reps, and they said, well, it's because when you guys do MMA, you don't wear shoes. Go, yeah, but we run, we wrestle, every other time except the actual fight and the actual sparring training, we have shoes on. Why aren't you sponsoring guys, especially guys like Weidman and Bader and Simpson, who are former D1 All-American wrestlers that should be in this space? And they're like, yeah, they're so short-sighted. It's kind of irritating.
Well, that's funny with different companies. They look at MMA as still kind of that outlier kind of sport where they're not jumping in yet. But the companies that I think have been successful with branding themselves with MMA and vice versa. So we got a couple of different ones like American Ethanol, In Capital, it's a financial. So
yeah.
So a lot of different ones that are outside the box that they all come to the fights, they have a good time, and they didn't necessarily know too much about MMA until we kind of got them involved and our management got them involved, and now they love it.
Now, you're a really smart kid. Talking about financial, honestly, like every other fighter, it's feast or famine. Like when we fight, we make a bunch of money. When we're not fighting, we're starving, trying to make the next stick. How much money do you have saved? And are you putting money away? Like, are you going 10% of my purse gets saved because I got a wife and kids now?
Yeah.
Is it 50%? Like, what do you do with your money to benefit yourself when you're retired from fighting?
Oh yeah, I say most of it, and definitely looking forward to the future. We have a gym, big gym, and all that, but I don't like to go out and spend too much. I got one thing. I bought Mike Miller's old like '65 Lincoln, all convertible and all that. And I got
with suicide doors.
What's that?
With the suicide doors?
Yeah, suicide doors and everything.
Well, that's an investment. You hold that thing for 10 more years, it triple the value.
I already got it appraised, and I could make $40,000 on it. But I got it for cheap from him. So stuff like that. It really is putting it away. I'm saving it right now, and I've definitely looked to invest more and make my money, earn money on itself. So you got to have something there, for the future. And you can't think, oh, I got a couple more fights in me, already. What happens if you get hurt tomorrow? So I'm definitely looking forward to securing my future.
Let's talk about being hurt. Somehow you seem to escape that bug. When they sign you to fight, you fight.
Actually, my last time I pulled out one time in my career. It was the last fight with Glover. Basically, I tore my knee. I gave it a week to kind of let it heal, maybe, or see if I can actually do something on it. And it was torn, couldn't do it. So we tried to get it pushed back, but he was fighting, wanted to fight, and fought Tahuna. So we ended up getting that fight back in main event in Brazil. So we were happy with it.
Now let's go back 2 fights to the Lyoto Machida loss.
Yep.
You got knocked out. You got KO'd
in
the second round. What happened during that fight? Was it his speed? Was it – because to me it looked like you weren't firing on all cylinders, like someone was a little bit off.
Well, going in there, we were looking for the takedown, but I never – Machida is a weird style, and I never felt like if I shot it, I probably should have just forced it, kind of like a Kane and JDS a little bit. Yeah. But I never felt it. I never felt it was quite there. So second round, I was kind of I was maybe going to force him to move a little bit and maybe see what he would do. And then by the time I knew it, I got knocked out. I rushed everything. I thought I was stepping outside of his left hand, but I wasn't at all. I came back, and he caught me with a short right. It was just me being impatient, and it was me not wanting to have a a boring fight on Fox. It was a
Yeah.
second Fox fight, I believe,
Mhm.
on the main card. And I didn't co-main event. And I didn't want to have that fight, so it was kind of went do or die mode, and just kind of lost my patience basically, and I paid for it.
It was the fourth card on Fox, but it was still under the
Okay.
gun. The UFC was feeling that heat too of we have to
Yeah,
get the numbers up. The media was on it, like the numbers aren't where they're supposed to be. We got to get this thing working. There's a
yeah,
lot of pressure, not only on the fighters, but also the top brass of the UFC. They were getting
yeah,
a little bit of pressure to make this thing happen. So I completely understand that.
yeah.
Being like, I got to make this thing an exciting fight. Well, you bounce back against Vladimir Menashenko, who's a great wrestler, 6-time Russian champ.
Mhm.
You submitted him in the first round within under a minute. Like that was an
Yeah,
incredible fight. I used to train with Vladimir. I know
yeah,
how good he can be when he chooses to
yeah,
be, and you stopped him in every direction that he was coming on. What
yeah.
did it feel like when you got that submission on him? Was it one of those, oh, I knew I could get it, or you were like, I really had to work for it. I really had to pull his head in. Like, what was it kind of like getting the submission on him?
We actually drilled that. I worked a ton. I went back to kind of working a lot on technique and training, and I did 2 to 3 sessions, the privates with our jiu-jitsu coach, and that's one of the chokes we worked on. I'm good with chokes. I'm not going to be. It's no surprise that I'm not going to be throwing up triangles and all that kind of stuff. But I am good and proficient at certain things, and chokes are one of them. And so we drilled that choke a ton. And so when I clicked him with the left hand, he went into that hook, and then I saw him kind of go down on his knees, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to get a KO over the night bonus with a TKO here. I might as well try that submission. So I threw that on, and I didn't actually wrap my legs, pull guard on it like I should have, but I ended up securing it, kind of got a little half guard, a little snake down his leg, and I felt him gurgling, and I knew just, to hold on to it, and then he finally tapped. So it just kind of gave me the confidence to go for something, and knowing that what I'm doing in training is working and it'll pay off. And I think now I'm more relaxed. I can think, and it's not so much of going out there kind of blacking out and just going on instinct. I can think about what I'm doing.
And that's a level at first when we first start. We're like, okay, we got to get this guy to a position where he doesn't think about it; he just reacts to it.
Yeah.
And the next level of fighting is like, okay, now that we've got him reacting to everything, we got to make him think again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very strange how
It
the
is,
progression
yeah.
of fighting goes. Where all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, I just got hit. I want to attack. I want to shoot.
Yeah.
Like last time I got knocked out, so I'm gonna slow down a little
Yep.
bit. Oh, there's his head. Now I'm gonna
Yes.
take out. Now there's a guillotine. That's a thinking man's game,
Yeah.
and it's tough. It's a tough sport to do it in. Let's talk about Glover Teixeira. You had to pull
Yep.
out the first time. You hurt your knee. Now you're in.
Yeah.
And this fight, you're gonna have to think a lot more in it because he's kind of one of those guys. You think he's staying inside this box, and then all of a sudden he develops a new aspect every time he comes out and fights.
Yeah.
What have you done specifically to get ready for Glover that has kind of been out of the box thinking? That's kind of keep your mind fresh when you're fighting.
I've been working with my knee injury. I worked a ton on my boxing. I developed a good jab. I developed more technical boxing. I'm way better with my head movement, my footwork. And so obviously he comes out very aggressive and looking to put you away. He throws big hooks and trying to put you away in that first round, So we have to be smart about that. And I also went back to ASU at least once a week to get into the room and wrestle with those the college wrestlers and all the starters and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And although I come from a wrestling background, I've been doing it my whole life. I sometimes you miss the little things when you're in there. So I'm in there scrapping with those guys, wrestling and going live and drilling, just pure wrestling. Even on top, just I'm not going to my guard or anything like that. I'm trying to get back up. So I think that helped out a lot, and I regained those little tiny tweaks in my game that could be something that allows you to get the takedown or doesn't in a fight, which ultimately could win you a fight. So those little things, I feel I got those down now and back. Maybe that I was missing in the last couple of years or so.
I had a long conversation with Ben Askren, and we were talking about the Hendricks versus GSP fight.
Yeah.
And he's like, as long as Hendricks goes back to Oklahoma State and wrestles as much as he can and spends time in the room,
Yeah.
the little things that he needs to beat GSP are going to happen because of the grind that you have in the kind of room.
Oh yeah.
With LaShawn Charles is the head wrestling coach, and he was a grinder when he was a wrestler there.
Yeah.
He's a grinder when he was on the U.S. team. We trained together for a long time. Is that grind, underneath Tom Ortiz, the grinding kind of, that bang really, really heavy, like in your face kind of fell back a half a step. Not all the way, just like a little half a step. Now with Sean in there, is it back to that full SPAC where when you went in there now, you're kind of like, oh, this is ugly. Like this is some,
Yeah.
when it gets close, it's going to be ugly wrestling. It's not going to be
Yeah,
cute.
yeah.
It's not going to be fun. It's going to hurt.
Well, yeah. I mean, Aaron and I go in there and we joke about how it sucks getting back in a wrestling stance and drilling and getting taken down and drilling and all that. But that's what you need. That's how your body gets conditioned, and you pick up those little things. So for me, I had the couple 84 pounders, a 97 pounder come in. We rotated on me. I'd go. I just stay in there the whole time and just grind it out. And that's what a fight's going to be like. Your arm's going to be blown up. You're going to be tired. You're going to be grabbing some other sweaty guy that's slippery, and you need to get a hold of him. And so I think even going in there and wrestling, just straight wrestling, is pretty much just like a fight. That even you won't get with sparring with boxing gloves on or anything like that, because you're not having that, that being able to grip them and having a pure wrestler just go at you is different too than having somebody that throws punches at you too. So you're in their world as far as they're doing it all the time now. You're in the MMA game, but you're going back into that wrestling world where little things that you get away with in MMA aren't going to work on a guy like that. So it was good to get in there and you're not getting on the first shot, you're getting on the second and third, which may happen in a fight.
Are you noticing that you're not touching your knees as much as you used to in college?
Oh yeah, I don't touch my knees at all if I can in MMA, barely, and because I've seen what happens a lot of times, and when people go down on their knees, they're getting choked or something's happening. So I developed a couple different takedowns over the past few fights that are really working for me. That I'm not touching my knees at all. If I don't get it, I'm safe.
Do you think is that why Daniel Cormier had such a good jump in MMA? Because his style was a half a shot, snap you down, spin behind you, make you shoot, spin behind you. He never touched his knees anyway.
Yeah.
So that transition, he didn't have that learning process like you and I did.
Yeah, no, I think that it's a great style to come into, and a lot of times you look at the real slick wrestlers that are touching the knees and doing like super ducks and all that. They're going to have a hard time in MMA, and you have seen it before. And so the people that can snatch a single, snatch a double real quick, go in there and grab it, they're going to be successful in MMA, and that have the upper body awareness, kind of a Greco feel that they can hit some throw-bys, they're good in the clinch, and I think that's where you need to develop towards, and not going to a knee and keeping your head down there and looking to get kneed in the face and all that.
Last question before we let you out of here. You have a lot of training partners. Who's the one guy in your room right now that we haven't heard of yet that's going to be somebody that's going to be on our radar in the next 6 months to a year?
Oh, man, there's a bunch in there, and there's really raw guys in there. Let me try to think. There's a couple of guys that he's 155 pounder, but he's fought in the UFC. Tim Means, he actually just got cut, but he's going to go back up to 170. But he's 155, he's 6'2", and he's a terror on his feet to go with. It's not even fun. And I don't think that the first couple fights in the UFC really did him justice. He had a couple stoppages and then got taken down, so he went back to working on wrestling. If he gets his wrestling down, he's going to be unbelievable. So we got a ton of up-and-coming guys. We got Darian Caldwell, super talented, former Division I national champ, and he's fighting in Legacy and broke his hand, but he's a beast too. He's naturally gifted.
Perfect. Brian, thanks for coming out with MMA Oddsbreaker. Good luck down there in Brazil with Glover Teixeira. Unfortunately, you won't have the hometown advantage.
Yeah, not at all.
Down there, it's going to be boring. But you're the kind of guy, especially coming from Arizona State wrestling background.
Yeah.
Hometown advantage doesn't make a difference to you.
I love it. I love being the underdog, going in there and showing people wrong. So appreciate having me on.
You got it, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
See you, man.
Bye.